Hi, everybody. My name is Cynthia. I'm the manager at Belvedere Cemetery and Funeral Home. And today I'm going to have a little conversation about how to turn your pandemic losses into a gift or an opportunity. We're having the conversation with Coach Joe. Full name is Joanne Besner. You can find her on LinkedIn or on Facebook under Joanne Besner Consulting. And go ahead, Joanne. Tell us more about yourself.
Well, myself, I'm a professional coach and teacher trainer also. And I'm just finding this time and everything we're dealing with such an important time to get out there and talk to people and find out how everybody is going through this. Can you believe it's a year later and we are still talking about the pandemic?
I know I think most of us anyway, are cooked, done. We don't want to hear about it. So why are we even talking about this today? Why are we bringing it up?
I know I'm also cooked. But if you're listening today, you're a survivor, just like we both are. We found some way, right, to survive. And some people have even thrived in the pandemic. We may be cooked, but we have listened to talks and advice from our government and our friends, our family, mental health experts. You know the drill. Everyone tells us take care of ourselves, establish a routine, keep in touch with people through technology, get outside and move, and talk about your feelings. Yeah, all that really is great advice. But like you said, 1 year later, how do you keep it up? So I want people to be aware of slippage and relapse. It's perfectly normal after a year. They do come a knocking.
Yeah, no doubt. Uh,
So yeah, I wanted to ask you. So if you can just think back to 11 months ago, what was your experience?
well, it all came very suddenly. It's strange because in our business we had to plan. So we had a pandemic plan, and we started having meetings in January that like stocking up on things, and I thought that was completely crazy. I never expected a pandemic. I was like, no, not us. It's never going to happen. So then when it actually everything shut down in March, it's one day you're coming to work and the next day we're still coming to work, but then everything has changed. The doors are locked, and I was the manager, so all of a sudden I'm responsible for people and their health and everything that's going to happen. And then you see like the big trucks in Italy coming out with bodies in the back, and then how we're going to deal with people like the staff starting to get sick and their families starting to get sick. Like we didn't know how big it was going to be, and I feel that that was very stressful at the beginning, like the unknown. Right now it's, I guess we know a bit more what's going on, but a bit more, not
Yeah.
entirely everything. But that first few weeks, I would say, was very disturbing, very stressful to see all this and think there's no way, in my mind, there's no way I could have lived through that. How about
Yeah.
you?
Well, you know what? It's what you're saying is resonating with me because I was also feeling extremely emotional and really overwhelmed. And boy, your situation sounds overwhelming, but I was seeing that pandemic like a huge mountain. And my biggest fear was that my elderly parents were going to get COVID, that they were going to die from COVID, that my husband's business was going to close. So there was that sort of impending doom and gloom. But, when you know that mountain of a virus isn't going anywhere, you've got to ask yourself, okay, so what can you do? You can choose to absorb yourself, in all the distress, or you can make a different choice. So I was challenged. Could I decide to be curious about that mountain? Keep an eye on it, maybe even climb it. Could I possibly pause and picture dreadful circumstances like the ones you describe as a gift and an opportunity? And I know that kind of sounds mad against the mayhem of pandemic, but the strategy was proposed to me as a coach and I gave it a go. And that's why I want to share it with you. Maybe it can serve our listeners today. And it's all about mental fitness. And that's the capacity to handle the challenges of life, including the pandemic, with a positive mindset instead of a negative mindset. So just to sort of picture our brains, on one side, we have those saboteurs, those negative spiraling thoughts that, take you down the rabbit hole. And on the other side of our brain, that's where it's more calm, cool, collected. That's our sage or our wise part of the brain where there's calm. So obviously we want to get out of the saboteur brain and go to that calm part to really make better decisions and be able to cope.
So, Coach Joe, can you tell us how to apply this, like literally to the pandemic or the losses that were felt in the pandemic?
Okay, so I would love to do that. And I hope you're keen to do this with me, because I want to invite you to do a little bit of an exercise. And for our listeners also to say, and this is something, Cynthia, you can do with anything, COVID stress when you're feeling it, or any stress. So the first thing we have to do is get physical. So when you've got those, circling thoughts, I want you to take all your focus and focus exquisitely on a physical sense. So there are many ways to do this, but for today, I want you to take your two hands and focus on your fingertips. And we're going to take one hand and very slowly bring it down against the other and feel the ridges from your fingers to your palm, all the way down your wrist. And then go back up again, but really focusing on everything you feel. You may pass a ring on your finger, and then go with your other hand, the same thing, and you're really focusing on the sensations that your fingertips are feeling. Now you're going to do that for about 2 minutes. That's all it takes. And we're not going to do it for 2 minutes today, but this is the exercise to do. And after 2 minutes, and even now, after even about 20 seconds, you start to calm. And that's because you've gone to the sage side of your brain where there's calm, clear-headed focus. So once you're able to get there, here's where I want you to think about your worst case scenario in the pandemic. What really stresses you? Could be getting COVID. It could be losing your job or your livelihood, or being lonely, or for you, having to do with many, many issues and people coming in and needing help and not being able to cope. So I want you to go and imagine that your worst case scenario has actually happened. Acknowledge it, understand the root cause of it, because it could happen, and allow yourself to visualize and really be there. And it's okay, because you're in the calm, sage part of your brain while you're doing this. Then, after having imagined your worst case scenario, you're there, it's happened. I want you to think about 3 learnings or actions that you can take now that this terrible thing has happened. So just think about that and then focus on one. So I'm going to propose that, let's say you've lost your job. It's happened. So you may think and decide, you know what? I'm too vulnerable in this occupation. I think I'm going to shift and move to a completely different area. Then you want to think about, okay, if I did that, what steps would I take? So now you're focusing on actions that you're going to take. And you might think, okay, what am I going to pursue? How am I going to think about my finances in the interim? Who do I know that I could contact to help me? Who's this going to impact in my family? Should I have a talk with my partner? How can they help me? So already you see you've gone from swirling crazy thoughts to, okay, the worst thing happened, but here's what I could do step by step. These are things that I could do. This will give you the realization that even if the worst case scenario happens, you have a choice to turn it into a gift or even an opportunity. And I find myself really, a year later, I find myself being pulled down despite my efforts to stay grounded and still seeking the gifts.
So how do you take this COVID stress and turn it into the gift of an opportunity? Like once you've done all this, how do you output the gift?
So the one example I gave you is that you actually execute it. So I'll give you an example of what I went through. Remember, I said my biggest fear was my parents getting COVID. Both my parents actually did get COVID, and it was terrifying. And thankfully, they both survived, but it was a horribly difficult period. And what I did was decided to engage my brother and my sister, and together we created such a strong bond and spoke every single day and put a plan together to make my parents as comfortable and safe as we possibly could, because we couldn't see them. And this is what we did. We turned it into an opportunity to bring us as siblings even closer together. It doesn't make the disaster go away, but it gives you a focus, and it brought something into our lives that we didn't necessarily have as strongly as before. A few other things that I do, or tips I want to give for now is, one is to be curious. And I heard this from someone else, a journalist, Elizabeth Gilbert. We're all busy trying to occupy ourselves and, watching Netflix and Zoom and busy. But an interesting thing to do for yourself is stay in the stillness. Ask yourself, wait a minute, how long could I stay at home without contact? How long? It could be almost like a game. How many days could I stay just being myself? Another fun one I do is, I'm the kind of girl who always loves a spa retreat. And of course, we can't do it. So I say, design a retreat day. You can even like draw it and on a colored paper, design ahead of time your sport, your activity, maybe some yoga, meditation, a walk, a hot bath, a hot toddy, give yourself a foot massage, listen to great music. And if that doesn't work and you don't know what to do, my last suggestion is do what a 10-year-old would do. Be a kid, because kids know how to have fun. So for example, get out there and get some blocks or some Lego and build something with your hands, or take a nap in a comfy blanket with your, curl up with a pet, or even create or paint something, make a collage. These activities are not only calming, but they're a lot of fun. So these are some of the ideas of how to turn this lousy COVID situation into something that maybe you wouldn't have done before. And I promise you, if you and I can do these kinds of things that I've described after the virus leaves us, we're going to be a pro at just regular life.
But okay, so let's say we get good at this. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure we will, because we
Yeah.
have all kinds of great tips. What happens when we slip?
That's great, because you know what?
What do we do?
We're gonna slip. And it's the first thing, it's just okay. We are gonna slip. It's a year later, and we're still facing months ahead until whatever, we don't know what the future will bring. So that's okay. If it happens and you get into those swirling thoughts, your hand is on the hot stove, get your hand off that hot stove. Hear the message, receive it, and note it. Deciding to keep your hand on the hot stove and staying in those swirling thoughts, it's just punishing and blistering pain and serves no one. So anytime it happens, your hand's on the hot stove, get it off, and know you have a choice to turn it into a gift or an opportunity.
That's Amazing. Thank you so much, Joe, for doing this for us, and all kinds of very good advice, actionable advice that we can do today at any
Okay.
moment. So this is great. It's very much appreciated. And to every one of you out there, if you'd like some coaching, you can reach out to Coach Joe, Joanne Besner Consulting. She's great. She's amazing. And she can help you with pretty much anything in your life, right? It could be business related, it could be personal, it could be family. Uh,
Excellent.
Anything just to help you out, give you a little push, and she's really great. Thank you so much, Joanne. Have a great day, and I hope we speak again, maybe in this context soon.
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. Be well. Be well, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.